One of the most underrated part of cinema, I think, are short films. 99% of filmmakers get started by making short films. Like Christopher Nolan, Martin Scorsese, they all started making short films and then eventually got to these features. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about 10 incredible short films that I believe you should watch and learn from. When I watched these 10 short films throughout the years of my life, I was able to elevate my short films to the next level. Number one, it's a film called Stutterer. It came out in 2015 by Benjamin Cleary, and I believe it won the Oscar for Best Short Film that year. But what exactly makes this short film so good? This short film is about a lonely typographer who has a stutter, and he basically needs to face his greatest fear when his online girlfriend wants to meet in real life. I think this short film is a great example of how to actually make a short film. Number one I want to talk about is the characters. There are not a lot of characters in this film, and honestly there's not a lot of characters in any short films I'm going to talk about. You want to keep your film simple, right? You don't want to create so much stuff in such a small amount of time, because then it just seems like you're trying to stuff a feature in a short film. This film, there's two main characters, the girl and the guy, and they have two different beliefs of life. By using these two characters and using a very nice, concise story structure, the story circle, it's able to build a really personal, contained, yet super compelling short that all leads to this ending, which is I think one of the most brilliant endings I've ever seen in a film. It's a twist, I'm not gonna spoil it. When the twist happens, you have this really nice feeling in your heart, and that's because this twist builds on their character beliefs and the expectations people have for this meet that happens. The next film is another Oscar-winning film. It's called The Neighbor's Window, and this film is exactly what the title says it is. So it's basically about this middle-aged woman with a whole family, and she looks outside the window, and across the building she sees this lady and this guy, and basically she remembers what her past life was like, the excitement that she no longer finds in herself today. I think what's so great about this film and why it won the Oscar that year is because of how true it is to life. In life, we always look at other people and we're always saying like, wow, I mean, this person, well, he has a BMW. Well, this person, he has 100 million followers. That's so awesome. But we kind of like neglect the best parts in our life. And this film captures that so well. Kind of also relating to Stutterer, this film at the end also kind of has this really powerful and kind of like a twist ending as well, where you find out, oh, the other lady also, and I'm not gonna spoil it, but if you've seen it, you understand what I'm saying. I think all of the best short films should be short and have a powerful or twisty ending to it, and I think that's what makes some short films really good and stand out more than others. To achieve this powerful twisty ending, it needs to be relating to the central theme of the story. It shouldn't just be, oh, okay, well, he's a killer, that's crazy. It should be, something that breaks your expectations about what they believe the way of life is. And I think some of the most profound realizations we have in our own lives is when something super unexpected happens in our life, and that makes so much impact in our lives, just like how these twist endings make an impact in the audience when they watch it. The next film I watched like 5 years ago, and when I watched it, I was like, man, maybe I shouldn't be a filmmaker anymore because there's no way I can ever get this good. So what film is it? It's called Exit Strategy, and I watched it on this great YouTube channel called Omeletto. Definitely check out their platform. It has basically the best short films in the world, and it can give you a lot of ideas and inspirations on how to really write a short film and how other people are able to create this narrative. So why do I love Exit Strategy so much? Well, I think it's about the emotion it conveys through its fast pace, its fun, interesting characters, and editing. It's probably one of the only films I have on this list with a flashback, because usually short films I don't think benefit from having a flashback because it just makes it a little too complex, I think. But this film does the flashback super well. It reveals pieces and pieces of this story until it gets to the twist ending. And essentially the story is about this man who's stuck in a time loop, who works with his brother to try to stop this fire. And basically no matter what they do, I'm not gonna spoil it, but you just have to watch to find out what happens. The next film I want to talk about is a film called Fauve, and I think it was nominated for an Oscar that year, about these two kids who go to this mine and they're playing this really innocent game until something really dark happens to one of them. So why do I love this film so much, and why do everyone else love it so much? I think an element to a lot of short films that make it really good, I think it's the simplicity of the story. This film I felt was so simple, but I was so hooked the entire time. I love the two characters. Kid actors always make this kind of magical moment in the film. This thing doesn't have a crazy twist ending, but the ending is super impactful. It's super powerful. It stays with you. It lingers, years after you watch the film. This director basically was talking about how this film kind of reflected his childhood dreams. And I think this kind of, goes to my next point, which is when you're living through life, kind of just remember that the things that affects you emotionally, I think would affect other people emotionally. So I think a great way to come up with great short films is take elements from your own life. And this film is a great example of using locations to make it original and super compelling. I mean, if these kids were doing it inside a garage, I don't think it would have been anywhere near as impactful or beautiful as it was in this film. By utilizing these grand landscapes, this mine, these forests, this abandoned train, it was so nice. A problem with that is limited resources. Not everyone has access to these mines, but I think if you go out and explore, no matter where you live, you're gonna find beautiful and interesting locations. Next film is called Ice Merchants, and this film was nominated for Best Animated Short Film this year. And this film is about this father and son who basically jumps off the cliff every day to sell ice to a village until one day the water doesn't freeze anymore. And it's such a simple yet beautiful story. It's full of magical elements with the kid and the father. There's no dialogue. It was all through these movements, and it's just so beautiful. And what I think elevated this film is the twist ending. You kind of notice this pattern, right? Every film has some kind of powerful ending to the end. Just when you see it happen, you feel this warmth in your heart, because you kind of realize what happened before this film took place, and it kind of hits you, because when you realize it, you're like, wow, I feel so bad. The next film I want to talk about is Busan 1999, and this film was made by someone I know who goes to my film school, and I think this is one of the most beautiful short films ever. It's about this Korean woman who returns home to Korea and confronts her mother and tries to learn about life. And it was such a beautiful movie. It won a huge award at the San Francisco International Film Festival. This film teaches you a lot about really using simplicity, because this whole film takes place pretty much in a bathroom, right, in a house. And the director, he says it took him only 1.5 days to shoot it. He was on vacation, shot the film, became such a beautiful story. It kind of teaches you, maybe you don't have these crazy resources, but you still can make such a raw, nuanced story with powerful, themes about life and questions you bring up about how we live our lives. Another thing I really love about this film is the cinematography. It's absolutely gorgeous. The film look they went for, it's so beautiful, nostalgic, sentimental. It's kind of the vibe, honestly, I try to get in my films, and just such a beautiful everything, lighting, and it just shows if you have a good DP, you can make some of the most average places so beautiful. And obviously art direction and lighting goes into that as well. And I think what's super powerful about this story is about how someone confronts such a intimate place in their life. I think all short films benefit from being honest with the storytelling. The next film I want to talk about is a short film called The Chef. I actually know the director and the screenwriter for this film, and I think this film won the Student Academy Awards a few years back. This film is about this robot dude who gets brought into this Chinese kitchen, and it's basically the chef needs to teach it how to cook. And it's such an interesting story because it really relates to the world today, right? With ChatGPT, AIs, robots, automation, our fear with technology, right? Taking our jobs, and our difficult, complex relationship with it. And I think what's make this so good is also largely the ending, because the ending is kind of ambiguous. It has a little bit of a twist to it as well. Super powerful, and it relates to the theme. It's a film that raises a question. Instead of telling the audience what to think, it's bringing up a question like, should we really think this way? It makes you question your own beliefs. And I was actually talking to the screenwriter on how she wrote this film. A really helpful thing she told me was the structure. You want to structure short films where when it ends, you want to see more of the world, right? And I think that's what proof of concept film does so well, is because you want to see more of this character, you want to see more of this world. Some films, you know, it needs a closed loop, but I believe it benefits if your short film can end before the wrap up. It just cuts off and leaves the viewers wanting to see more. There's three main characters in the film: the chef, the robot, and the chef's apprentice. And these three characters bring in such an interesting dynamic to the story. Their different opposing viewpoints, you know, kind of symbolizes like the viewpoints of humanity as a whole and how we approach the future. The next film I want to talk about is called Unfinished Lives. I believe this won a ton of big awards as well. This film is about this Chinese USC student who, on his way home from studying, gets beaten by 4 teens and killed, basically. And it's this tragedy that happens in Los Angeles. The community was impacted very deeply. And this film deals with a lot of really real and raw emotions. The film kind of really tries to understand how this tragedy occurred, the impact of this tragedy. And it was probably one of the most like emotional things I've ever seen. Just because, I mean, this dude is just like me, right? Like, he's also a USC student who studies there, and you know, this could happen to any of us. And it's just such a beautiful story that's crafted on such a tragic event. It shows the power of being able to tell a story that is about the truth. The next film I want to talk about is C, and this film was actually made by the same guy that made Busan 1999. I want to talk about it last because it's so unique, so simple, you know, has so many elements and principles of short filmmaking. This film was purchased by HBO, and now the feature of this film is in development. This shows the power of proof of concept films, right? Everyone loved it, and now it's being made into a feature. This is making the director go into the next step of his career. And this film stars Ki-hong Lee, the guy from Maze Runner. It's a story about this baseball student who goes through his whole day, and it's such a unique structure because it doesn't have the plot points usually films follow. It's just like a day in the life kind of thing. And it's also kind of similar to like a film like Tuesday. Charlotte Wells, the director of After Sun, it just follows this boy through his life, but you see things he faces, and it's like a tiny snippet of this guy's life that is just so interesting. One of the things I think makes this film so powerful is also the ending. It has this twist ending, and I thought it was so clever and unique to have this ending. You'll have to check it out to find out, but it tells so much about this character and who he is and how he lives his life. A philosophy this filmmaker Thomas Percy Kim talks about is putting all your eggs in one basket, putting all your effort into one film instead of some effort in this film, some effort into that film, quality over quantity, right? And you can see how it paid off for him. So these are the 10 films I believe are incredible and you should watch and learn from. And some advice I have on, you know, making your own short film. One is just being super original, you know, telling a very unique story without all the cliches. Don't worry too much about structure, having that twist ending, keeping it simple and concise, you know, being creative with the locations and the characters, using stories from your own life, but just modify a little bit to fit your character's world. If you guys enjoyed this video and you guys want to see how I was able to take all these concepts and make my own A24 style short film, then check out this video right here. I'll see you guys there. Peace out.